We're going to meet some clothing designers today, ladies who love to use vibrant colors to make their creations stand out. Now, you won't find these ladies in Paris or Milan buying dyes to make those colors. You're going to find them in a field in Davidson County, growing their own. Susan Bellows is working the field today, taking care of all kinds of plants.
We have planted some zinnias and marigolds, which are just starting to pop up right now. Leslie and Kate are planting woad, which has a blue pigment in it, which is the same pigment as an indigo. And then we'll be starting we have started some Japanese indigo that are just seedlings that we'll transplant in.
Almost everything planted here winds up back here.
General goal is to simmer for about an hour, both the stems and the leaves and the flowers. And so this is a mix of purple and white flowers, but it's totally fine to use both colors. It will actually yield a yellow dye pigment.
It's all about the pigment here at Ask Apparel. Ask stands for the names of the three sisters who started the company: Alessandra, Susan, and Kate Bellows. The idea, according to Alessandra, is to use natural dyes.
Well, what we consider natural dyes are anything that comes from the earth, like a clay or earth-based pigment, plant-based dyes, so something that would come from flowers or roots or leaves or bark or seeds, or even there are a couple of animal-based dyes. So there's something called cochineal that comes from an insect that lives on cacti. So the dyes that we use, we're taking plant sources or earth sources, and we're extracting the dyes ourselves in our workshop.
Of course, natural dyes don't just appear. They have to be coaxed and boiled and ground out of the plants that hold them. And since each plant is different, each batch of dye will be different too.
It might be subtly different, so that if you looked at, say, a scarf that I dyed 2 years ago in the fall with one that I dyed this year in the spring, I might be able to say, oh, I can see a subtle variation there, but nothing that would be like, oh, this is brown and this is red. You know, it's still going to be within the same color family. And I think one of the beautiful things about natural dyes is that the colors always harmonize. So even if you're dyeing with different plants, or even if you're dyeing with the same plant, any variation that you do get is subtle and soft, so the colors really harmonize with each other.
Once the colors are in harmony, they can sing a couple of different tunes.
If we want to do something like a surface design, we would either silk screen or hand paint the fabric. In both of those cases, we're mixing pigment that we've extracted with a soy milk binder. And then we can use that either to hand paint, or we can mix it with a thickener, and then we can hand silk screen with them. Or we can just take that fabric and we can immersion dye it. So that involves making up one of those big vats that you saw in the shop with dye stuff, and then dipping the fabric in there, either to create patterns on the fabric or just to get a solid color on it.
The idea of using natural products like these is growing in popularity. After all, as Sarah says, there are environmental concerns.
At our very small level in our studio, it's healthy for us to have a workplace that doesn't, have toxic chemicals in it, and then healthy for the consumer to wear it. It also doesn't have, different pigments and other synthetic chemicals leaching out of the clothing.
There is concern for the environment here, but as Alessandra points out,
we want to make things that people would buy no matter what, or people that would see and love no matter what. So our first aim is to create something beautiful that people say they just really enjoy it. So even though underlying it all are those aims of social and environmental responsibility, we try to make something beautiful.
Beautiful, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Beauty doesn't come easily. It begins months before, here.
It sort of almost seems like free money, because you spend all this time growing the dye plants throughout the year, but then when you're ready to harvest them, you feel like there's this wonderful bounty that was created from nature, and that you put your labor into it, but you're really able to sort of appreciate the broader beauty of it.